All right, guys, strapping in today. This is a hell of an episode. I'm sitting down with hopefully soon to be Maxim cover model, Rachel Greenbaum. And let me tell you, we have some fun conversation. This girl's had a badass life and one hell of a journey. She's got the look, she's got the attitude, she's got the spunk and the fire in her. You're going to freaking love this episode. And as always, this show is brought to you by Point Blank Safety Services. Stacey McGovern and her team over there taking care of our Texas freeways, all of our construction sites, making sure everybody gets home safe by employing police officers in their off-duty times. These guys are, the cars you see on the side of the freeways with their lights on and everything else. That is most likely Stacey's company out there. And they're ensuring those not only do we all get home safe, but with that, we stay safe in the process. So if you're looking for safety, security, active shooter training for your companies, your business, your projects, your assets, check out pointblanksafety.com. Promise you can't go wrong with them. And then let me tell you about Icy Tech coolers, man. These are the coolest coolers on the face of the earth. Not only do they keep your stuff just cool as hell, but they're rugged. They will take a rough and tumble. And I mean, if they can handle my group and parties and the friends and the things that we do and still keep on running and doing what they're doing, keeping things cold, you're not going to find a better cooler in the marketplace. So go to icy-tech.com and use the word, which is my affiliate link, use the word success when you check out, and you'll get $25 off of your next cooler purchase. That's icy-tech.com. Use the code success when you check out, and you'll get $25 off your next purchase. Now let's jump into Rachel Greenbaum. Dude, I'm telling you, have fun with this one, boys.
I see it in your eyes. You want to give up right now. But you can't give up on the fight right now. Look up. The finish line is in sight right now. Your success and greatness is ready to take flight right now. The fruits of your labor are just turning right now. That's why you planted all those seeds so you can take a bite right now. The unbelievable is now believable. You're reaching new heights right now. The ground is no place for champions. The ground is no place for champions. The ground is no place for champions.
All right, guys, going to be another killer episode. I'm bringing on a badass. I'm bringing on Rachel Greenbaum. And she was introduced to me from a friend named Allie Boone. You guys have heard on the episode before. Allie was a badass, did all the real estate stuff, did down into prison stuff. And she reached out to me and said, I've got to meet Rachel. I've got to get her on the show. So Rachel and I had some smart-ass conversations back and forth via Facebook Messenger. I'm like, okay, I've got to give this a go. So here we go, guys. Going to be a fun round. Miss Rachel Greenbaum, welcome to the show. Tell us your story.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Donnie. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to be here. Well, I'm not really sure exactly where to start, actually, but...
so you were born when? No, I'm kidding. Don't go that far.
way back in the day.
Right.
In a town called Hollywood, Florida.
Is there a town called Hollywood, Florida?
There is. It's outside of Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, but damn. I was born in Clearwater, so small damn world. Okay.
Yeah, I have no memory of it. I left when I was 2.
Oh, I left when I was 3 months old, so, we could be related at this point.
We could be.
So you are into all kinds of cool things. We were just talking about a little bit. How did this all start?
Well, I spent my entire life growing up moving around quite a bit, and especially more in my adult life. And some of it was circumstance and some of it was my own choosing. So I've always had a bit of a travel bug, and that got me interested in photography. I lived in France for a year when I was in college and took some really amazing photos with a really crappy little point and shoot. And that's eventually what led me to go to photography school, get my bachelor's degree in journalism. And while I was there, I did experience some pretty cool things. I actually filmed in Israel. I went over with the intention of making a documentary on peaceful life in Israel because I'd been 3 times. I'd always felt very safe. They have a different way of living. And I wanted to show that even though they live in a war-torn country, they still are just regular people like you and I. They go to work, they go to school, they have friends. Yes, they have bomb shelters in their basements, but they're just like you and I. And when I got over there, a series of events happened that ended us up in the middle of a war when Hezbollah attacked Israel from Lebanon in 2006. Mm. So my storyline changed pretty quickly, but I also had to make a decision. I just had to leave town to get out of rocket range. Do I do that and stay safe and continue with the story that I had written a treatment on? Or do I stay and potentially risk injury or death and get the story? And I decided that that's what I was there to do. And I stayed for 2.5 weeks until my plane ticket said I was coming home. And I filmed that war for 2.5 weeks.
Wow. So you were over there documenting the peace side of things when all hell breaks loose, which all my veteran listeners that are out there can totally relate to, and made a gutsy choice. Why such a ballsy move? I mean, because most people, I understand that from somewhat of the journalist, you got to get the story, the juicier the details, the more people will read your stuff. But, really putting it all on the line when you don't have to. Why?
Well, I was a student, and I had a friend with me, and she and I made the decision together. We were both very passionate about what we were doing, and we were very passionate about telling the story as it was. And both of us were a little bit younger and maybe a little bit dumber than we are today. But
it's none of my business. Were you really close to your family at that time?
Yes.
So what was that phone call like home when all hell's breaking loose and you're calling home to mom and dad and saying, hey, by the way, just so you know.
Well, that's kind of funny that you asked that, actually, because I had spoken to my mother, and originally I was on a what they call a Birthright Israel trip, and it's a trip that's designed and paid for Jews between the ages of 18 and 26 if they're Jewish and they've never been on a group trip together before to Israel. They pay for it. So I qualified, and that's what took me to Israel. And I stayed later because it was $50 to change your ticket. So I would just stay and travel. Yeah, it was a no-brainer.
Right.
But I had just spoken to my mother, and she said, your aunt was telling me that there's some nasty stuff going on in Gaza and was concerned about you. And I told her, oh, Rachel would never go there. And I was literally there telling her, you're right, Mama, I never would. And I totally lied to her. Okay. I lied to her. I hung up the phone, and I thought, you know what, I better call my brother so that somebody at least knows where I am and the reality of the situation. So I made that phone call, and was actually a little bit surprised at how, I guess negatively is the right word to say, that
pissed off.
Yeah, my older brother reacted. He was trying to tell me what to do and to get on a plane and to come back. And
yeah, what the hell are you thinking? I can imagine. I don't have a sister, but if she was in a situation and I got that phone call, you damn right she would have gotten every piece of my mind to get the hell out of there.
Oh yeah, he definitely had things to say.
Especially, being a military guy with a military background. If you're in military service, yeah, gun down range, right? Totally. But if you're there on volunteering and your only protection's a camera and a pen and paper, get the hell out of there. You have no business being in that. So I can imagine what that conversation was like. So did he tell your mom?
No, it was, I eventually told her myself, but it was closer to the tail end of me coming back.
Crazy ass. So you spend 2 weeks into this mess.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be a very eye-opening experience, and we ain't going to go into the details, but you had to learn a lot, and then you come home. How much did that change you as far as the path you took for a good part of the next journey of your life?
It was a substantial point in my life. I learned a lot about myself, absolutely. And when I came back, I was still a student. I wasn't getting paid to cover that story.
Y'all hear that? That's how crazy she was, just for the record.
You know, when I came back, it's amazing how a certain car door slam at the right pitch sounds just like a Katusha rocket hitting.
Right.
And, I would hit the floor for a couple of weeks, actually, after I got back. It was an interesting transition, and I've always appreciated the service, but it really opened my eyes in a lot of ways, because it took me a good couple weeks to be able to, I didn't feel like I was the same species as the people I was in school with. And, you know, a lot of people were talking shit. Can I swear?
Yeah, of course you can swear.
They were talking shit to me and my friend who had just come back, and they thought we were walking around like we were better than everybody else because we'd filmed this war. And really, she and I, we didn't see it that way at all. I couldn't relate to these stupid problems. Like, you know, the things people were upset
You know what?
about.
Every veteran that I know that listens to this show is laughing at the moment, because this is the exact freaking problem we all run into. You know, I never served in any sort of the wars and everything, but a lot of my buddies did. And when they come back, you don't know how to acclimate. Nobody understands you. I don't really hear this from a reporter's standpoint. So this was very, very interesting. But I can tell you, all the veterans listening are laughing their ass off, because it's the same experience. And unless you've been through it, you just don't flip and understand it.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
That's crazy.
I ended up not pursuing journalism in the long run for several reasons, actually. One of which is the brother that I just told you about, who gave me the reaming for not coming home when he told me to. Unfortunately and unexpectedly passed away right after I graduated. And that definitely changed my path, because I moved back to Texas to spend some time with my mother to help her get through it and to, frankly, heal myself. And at that time, everybody I went to school with was getting their portfolios out. You know, they were getting jobs lined up, and I just didn't care about anything, to be honest. I took back a waitressing job, a bartending job to bring some money in. And that's actually when I started doing Krav Maga, which is, you know, as you know, the official tactics of the Israeli military.
Well, which is the opposite of what happens with most of us that went through the bartending thing, because you took Krav Maga, we crawled into a bottle, you know, because the lifestyle that comes with bartending.
Absolutely.
What made you get into Krav Maga? I mean, was it a whim or?
Well, a couple things.
Or was it a dude?
It was not a dude.
All right, cool.
Surprisingly enough. Fair question.
Right.
Let's see. So while I was in college, while I was in journalism school, okay, let me rewind. I started teaching a heavy bag kickboxing class right after I got back from France. And I was living there when I was 18 and 19. So I started teaching that, and it was strictly for fitness. And then when I was in college in Ventura, California, I started taking a Muay Thai class, and that was the first time I actually got into a ring. It was the first time I was sparring anybody. And one of the boxing trainers approached me and said, you know, you've been doing this for a while, haven't you? And I said, yes. And he said, have you ever thought about fighting? And I said, not really. And he said, well, you should consider it. I think you're good. And at that point in time, I was, you know, in college full time. I was basically waitressing full time, and I had my Muay Thai class, and that kept me quite busy. So I kind of not really blew him off, but I didn't take him seriously. And fast forward, I thought, hey, this guy wasn't asking me for anything. And funnily enough, his name, or at least he went by Rocky. Yeah. So
the irony.
I went back to him and I said, you know what, you weren't asking me for anything. Like, maybe you just see some talent in me. I'd love to work with you. And so I started working with him. and he convinced me that I needed to go compete at the U.S. Women's Nationals Boxing Championship. That was in 2004. So this was 2 years before the war that I just described.
Right.
So I trained with him a little while. At that point in time, women's boxing wasn't taken all that seriously. I didn't have to qualify to go to nationals. I just had to have a coach and wanted to go. So I went to nationals. That was the first bout I've ever had. It was the first time I ever stepped into a ring with a female, was at nationals.
Because you'd always been sparring with guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Which in a way gave me a little bit of a false sense of security, quite honestly, because none of
right, because they weren't. I mean, not intentionally, but they were holding back somewhat. Through the process. Yeah. 5'2",
and 115 is what I'll say right now.
Right. And then now you're stepping in a ring with another girl who's got nothing to lose.
Yeah. And, so Rocky convinced me to go to nationals. I went to nationals the day before. I had everything set up. It was in Spokane, Washington. The day before my fight, he said, one of my pro fighters got a fight in Vegas and I'm not going to go with you. And I was like,
oh, great.
What do you mean? This is your idea. This was your idea. And he was like, sorry. And so I was pretty disappointed, but one other female who was in a totally different weight class than me, but she was going with her coach. So I went with her coach, and it ended up being a great experience. I lost my fight on a technicality in the second round.
That's what everybody says when they lose. It's okay to say you got your ass whooped. No, I'm kidding.
Well, no, it was definitely a learning experience. That woman that I fought, she had 26 fights at that point in time, which I was told was equivalent to a man having about 70 because it was harder for women to get fights. I had 0, and it's a point-based system. So she knew I was, green.
Rookie, yeah.
Yeah, and she tried to kill me. She really did. But she didn't knock me out. And, I watched all of her other fights. She didn't come after anybody else the way she came after me. But at the end, she had me sign her gloves, and I told my stand-in coach, I was like, I think I just signed her loser glove.
She's hanging that one on. That's still on her wall.
Yeah,
I booked that bitch too.
He laughed at me. He said, no, that's a sign of respect. She found you a worthy opponent. I had an interesting conversation with her in the bathroom. But the truth is they changed the rules because, like I said, it wasn't taken that seriously back then. But
yeah, because the truth be told, I mean, to get in a national fight like that, if there had been, a ranking system, had there been, an actual chart, that people go by, you wouldn't have been stacked up with that gal out the gate. She would have been put in some sort of different category, class, something.
Oh, 100%. Everything was pretty much stacked against me from the start. My coach bailing on me. This particular opponent had dropped down a weight class. And, when Rocky convinced me to go to nationals, he said, I know all the women in your weight class. You're way stronger than them. You have way more stamina than them. Well, this woman had dropped down a weight class and she way outmatched me. And then also they apparently some rules or some years rather, body shots counted for points and other years they didn't. Well, this year they didn't. And nobody told me that. So the reason the fight got called in the middle of the second round was for a rule they have that's called 13 unanswered punches. So if an opponent takes 13 unanswered punches, they're going to call it. Well, she was punching me and I was returning them, but I was returning them with body shots. Wow. So they didn't count. So they called it in the middle and I had no idea what happened.
Oh, I'd be pissed.
I was pissed. I wanted to lose, I'd rather actually lose and go all 3 rounds than get it called on me.
Yeah, but if everybody's listening, what I want them to totally understand is you still got in the fucking ring.
And I was still ranked 6th in the U.S.
Nice. Badass. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people may have not have made that same choice. But this was before you did the whole Israeli thing. So we're starting to see that you either got a wild side or you're batshit crazy somewhere along the way. Either way, I like it so far. All right. So you come back from, Israel and all of that. You're trying to acclimate. You're trying to figure out. You're now doing Krav Maga, which is a badass style of martial arts. Very much taught in a lot of the militaries, more of you, let's get after it style of fighting. What happened from there?
So I discovered Krav Maga because I already knew what it was from the time that I'd spent in Israel, and I already had a background in, fighting arts. I had a lot of time on my hands, and quite frankly, was pretty messed up in the head over the loss of my brother. And I didn't have a job yet. I was living back with my mother, and I thought, I'm going to go try out this Krav Maga gym in San Antonio, Texas, actually. And I went in and I tried a class. In the very first class, I signed up and started going pretty religiously. And about a month into that, the owner of the school approached me and asked me to join the instructor training program.
So, I mean, at that time, because Krav Maga is still not wildly known outside of military circles, there's some very intimate, martial arts, stuff. Were you the only female in the program at that time?
Not at all, actually. There were several other females, and a couple of them on the higher ranking side as well.
Very cool. All right, so now you get into the training program, and you're going to be an instructor of Krav Maga. So if you guys haven't figured out, this girl can whoop the shit out of me that I'm blinking twice, and all 5'2" of her.
Yes.
So now you're going to go the instructor route. I mean, why? Why go that route?
I liked the idea of helping empower people, especially women. And I guess I've always just had a little bit of a feisty side to me.
You got little girl syndrome. It's like little dog syndrome, know?
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Funny because I was growing up, I was a competitive figure skater and a ballerina.
Okay, so competitive figure skater, ballerina, two very competitive, very athletic sports, but are meant for more of your princess style status. Two beating the shit out of people. That's a hell of a crossover and changeover.
Absolutely.
You just like flying by the seat of your pants.
Absolutely.
And let me guess, you only date 7-foot tall guys. No, I'm kidding. You little feisty people. Holy hell. Okay. All right. So where do we go from here? So now you're doing instructor training and carrying on.
And I'm still bartending and waitressing. And then all of a sudden I looked up and 6 years had gone by. And I never intended.
I did. That's a rough 6 years.
Yeah.
I know the lifestyle that comes with that. It's 1 foot in the bed and you're pulling it right back out and going to sling more drinks.
Yep. That's exactly right.
And I only did it for 2 years. Yeah. Yeah. I only did it for 2 years before I woke up. So you're just a slow learner. We're gonna blame that. 6 years. I couldn't survive 6 years. Not with the level of partying we were doing at that point. Oh, all right. 6 years. That's a long time.
It was a long time. I have lots of great stories from there.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Oh,
yeah. And then you got done bartending and made $1 million and sailed off into the sunset.
Of course.
Absolutely.
That's how every bartender's story ends.
Well, that's the story you believe is going to happen, Right. So where did we go after the bartending?
I decided that, I had gone back up to Calgary, which is where I grew up, Calgary, Alberta. My oldest brother, who's still alive, of course, got married. So I went up to Calgary for his wedding, and I, connected with some old friends and an old roommate, and everybody started kind of planting the seed in my mind that I should go up to Calgary to start a Krav Maga program because it didn't exist. Mm. And, Calgary is the 6th largest city in Canada. It's got a lot of oil money. And things started kind of lining up for me to do that. And I really wanted to leave San Antonio, and I really wanted to spread my wings a little bit. I love my mom, but I was too old to be living with her. So I came back from that trip from Calgary with this idea in my head that I should go start a Krav Maga satellite program up there, because I had an attorney friend who was going to do all the legal work for me. I had an artist friend who was going to create the website for me. I had connections to the Jewish Community Center in Calgary because I grew up in it. I thought I could easily start a satellite program out of the Jewish Center. It just all kind of made sense in my mind. And, from my years of teaching Krav Maga in San Antonio, I'd made some connections with a gentleman who actually owns a licensing company, and he's based in Los Angeles for Krav Maga. And contacted him, and I asked him, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Can I come out to LA, get my next instructor belt, and get all the licensing paperwork that I need to head on up to Calgary? And he said, yeah, sure, come on out. So I literally packed all my stuff in my car and drove from San Antonio to LA. And I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. I got my next instructor belt. And then I ended up being offered the position of managing the licensing company I was going to get licensed through. So I thought, do I move to Canada and freeze my ass off?
Yeah, it's cold up there. Who wants to go up there?
So cold. Or do I stay in Southern California where it's always beautiful?
Right.
Manage the company that I was actually going to get licensed through. So, I made the decision to do the latter, and it was a fabulous decision. I've had an amazing 6 years.
That's pretty cool. I mean, either they saw a sucker coming, or they saw somebody with talent and they're like, watch this. It was probably a drink party somewhere between a couple of buddies going, I'm going to get her to run this whole damn place. You watch this. No, that's pretty cool. I mean, so what about all the people up in Canada? Were they upset that you didn't make the move up there? I mean, you had family up there with your brother and everything. Was there disappointment, or was there, hey, she's finally choosing her path?
A little bit of both, I feel like, actually. I know there were some people that were disappointed, but other people that were happy for me and the decision I made. And the truth is that my older brother ended up getting laid off from his job about a year and a half after I was in LA, and he's now back in the United States, and I'm closer to him now than if I was up in Calgary.
Right. So very cool. So now for the past 6 years, you've been teaching Krav Maga, whooping asses, and having fun. Are you competing at all?
I haven't competed in any way, actually. I think I'll leave it at 6 in the U.S. in boxing. I have, leveled up in my rank. I now have a black belt in Krav Maga. So that was quite an accomplishment. And I just recently took a certification, call it a force certification, to be able to teach it, to teach Krav Maga to military and law enforcement.
Very
so
cool.
I had to get pepper sprayed in the face and strike pads. It was lots of fun.
Once you go through a gas chamber in the military, pepper spray is not all that bad.
Yeah.
And once you realize that. So where does this feistiness, because when you're a little person like you are, I'm just being funny, 5'2", right? Where does all this feistiness and fight come from? Are you picking a fight with yourself, picking a fight with the world? I mean, that's a mindset battle that you're fighting somewhere.
Absolutely. And that's a valid and deep question.
You're welcome. Welcome to Donnie's world.
Well, truthfully, I think that I definitely have an internal fire. I could equate it to anger in a way. I told you that I lost my brother, but what I didn't tell you is that when I was 18, I lost my father. And it was to suicide, unfortunately, and a pretty crazy story behind all that. But then 9 years later, that affected me a lot. And then 9 years later, when my brother passed away, it happened to be the same month.
Oh.
So it was tough to take. And that's something you don't really recover from. I mean, I've learned to deal with it, and I think I've done a pretty good job in terms of where I could be in life.
Right.
But it definitely it's something that's always there.
Well, what I like about this is a lot of people are looking for outlets. You know, they're going through shit in life. They've been through shit, whether it's the military, growing up, abuse, whatever the shit they've gone through. They're always looking for some sort of outlet. You call it escape, whatever else. I really enjoy the fact that you took it to the bag. And you took it to a martial art, which gives you a tangible skill and a real outlet. And, you know, because growing up, you know, my parents sent me to go see a psychiatrist because I was a punk ass kid in high school and fights and everything else. And the dude told me to throw a piece of ice against the wall. And when it broke, that was supposed to be like this release. Yet, no, it was more fun to crack somebody upside the head, you know, growing up, because it was a hell of a lot more release. It got me in more trouble. But, you know, so, but I love the fact that you found this organized outlet to get this out, because a lot of people crawl into a bottle, they crawl into pills, they crawl into whatever else, but you chose to funnel maybe this internal rage, fire, whatever, into this specialty. How much do you think that is really transformed and shaped you? Because from a mindset aspect, you've had to really evolve and level up your game to find the discipline to keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
You know, so go ahead. Now, to say is how have you found that next gear? Because there's so many people that are looking for that. They're looking for something to put that anger, that fear, that madness, whatever towards. How did you find that gumption to push in that direction?
I didn't see any other option, to be honest. It was either be strong and carry on, or don't.
That's tough, but everybody gets there. When you're stacked up against it, you know, you have two choices, and you honestly made the badass choice to freaking run and gun, which I fucking love. So where's all this taking you? I mean, you've been on a ridiculously crazy ass ride of Florida, Canada, France, boxing and getting your ass whooped. I mean, losing on technicality. To Krav Maga, choosing not to go to the freaking cold ass Canada. I can't talk Canada, and then hanging out in Southern California, you know, teaching, you know, Krav Maga and the whole licensing thing. What's the next adventure? I mean, where's all this going?
Well, I've also taken on the role, along with managing the Krav Maga Alliance, of the director of the StrikeFit program, which I told you about, which is our fitness version, a heavy bag kickboxing program. And I've recently now been picked up and partnered with an upcoming product that is it's a freestanding heavy bag that kind of is the end all to all the freestanding heavy bags that are out there on the market right now.
Okay.
That's actually what I'm in New York doing right now, is helping to oversee production on this bag.
And what makes this bag so special? Because when I think of a heavy bag, I'm still thinking the old canvas hung by chains, you know.
Well, hanging bags, especially for people that are real fighters, are the preference. But freestanding bags free up a lot of room for gyms and dojos that don't have the space, because once it's a hanging bag room, it's a dedicated hanging bag room. You can't move those things unless you have a very, very expensive rig, and those are hard to find and very expensive.
Those bags are heavy as hell.
Yes, they are. So the majority of freestanding bags that are out there right now are water filled at the base, and they crack and they leak, and they're short, and you can kick them over, and they're hard to move around. You know, you have to tilt them on their side and roll them off the mat, and they're just not that great of a training equipment piece. So this particular bag is the same height and circumference as a hanging bag. The base is incredibly secure. It's not filled with water, and it's not going to go anywhere. There's some wheels that are up on the side, slightly elevated, so you can just grab the top of the bag, you know, put your foot on the base, crank it over and wheel it off.
Like you would a dolly. Yep.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's very easy to maneuver around. It's the foam that it's made out of is got a nice feel to it.
I love the fact, did y'all hear that? She punched her hand when she said that. She just wants to punch somebody. So did you design this thing? I mean, were you part of it? How did you get involved with all this?
I cannot take credit for the design.
But you can take credit for beating the shit out of it.
Oh, yes.
No, I mean, so what's your role with all this whole thing?
I've been hired to basically be the face of it. And we're going to be partnering eventually with StrikeFit, with my program StrikeFit, as the instructor certification. Once we get these bags into bigger box gyms, I'll be training all their instructors. But mainly I'm the face of it. So it's really, really exciting.
Nice. And we're going to talk about you being the face of things here in just a second, but because you've got a lot of badass things coming up and we'll make sure we talk about. So the strike, talk to me about the strike. Is that your company that you have? What is that?
StrikeFit is owned by my boss, who's the founder of Krav Maga Alliance, which is the licensing company.
Yep.
So he owns StrikeFit, which is registered name. It's copyrighted. I have given intellectual property to the program, but it was already in existence when I came to LA.
Gotcha.
I have since taken it over. I'm the only certifying instructor in the world right now.
Okay.
So I've traveled all over the world and certified instructors and then given them the program.
Wow.
It's pretty fun.
So you're kind of a badass. So now you're basically running a company. You're becoming the face of this badass product. You're whipping the hell out of people for a living. And you're becoming almost a celebrity status with a lot of things you're doing. Did you see yourself getting here as a little kid?
Not even a little bit. I could never have predicted what's happening in my life right now.
And what I want a lot of people to hear is she's finding a lot of success, but as on this journey, man, there's a lot of times that what we thought we were going to be as a kid and grow up, and that so changes so drastically by life. And you start learning more about yourself and discover what makes you a badass. And I freaking love the fact that you've kind of been like that river and gone where life takes you, but you've been grabbing life by the horns every chance you got and give it a hell, which is really, really, really cool to see. So you're hanging out in New York. You're doing a photo shoot for this thing because you're a 5'2" badass model-esque. Models are usually like these, 7 foot tall Amazon gals. So what's it like being 5'2", hanging out with these other gals that are, looking down on you as you're doing it? Is it okay because you can whoop their ass? I mean, what's that whole getting close to celebrity lifestyle like for you?
It's been interesting. I've had a little bit of experience with it. Training celebrities in LA. I've gotten hired to do a couple gigs and worked very closely with some pretty big names. And I have some funny stories about some celebrities. I don't know if I should say them.
Yeah, probably not, but I'm sure you do. They at least partner you up with other celebrities that are close to your height because they always look taller on screen. Yeah,
they do. Actually, I'm surprised at how short some of the celebrities that I've met are. I'm looking them in the eye. I'm not looking up.
Right. So, I mean, how much has all this changed your life with everything you have going on?
I'm very excited for the future, but I feel like I'm still me. I still have, long-term friendships that I continue, and I am just trying. I mean, I'm just a normal person trying to pay my student loans off.
That's awesome. So it's not all glam, glitz, and glory, guys.
It is not. It is not at all.
So let's talk a little bit about what this big thing you have coming up here in the very, very near future as we get ready, as we're recording this and get ready to release this out to the general public. Talk to us a little bit about what you're getting into or what you're into. Yeah.
Yes. This is also another thing I never ever saw coming, but
now, as soon as you say that, all the guys listening to this are going to want to jump over to YouTube to see the video side of this thing. So just so you know, go ahead.
I'm currently in the running for the Maxim Cover Girl of 2019, and I have been dominating the group that I'm in. Actually, I've been number one in my group through every single cut, and there was about 20,000 women at the start of this contest, and they've already cut 17,500. We're about to get to the top one in each group, which will be this upcoming Thursday. And then after that, it goes to quarterfinals, and then all the groups will be reassembled, and it'll all be number ones because there's about 500 groups. So there'll be 500 number ones moving forward, and some of the number twos that they put into a wild card round is what they're calling it. And the winners from that round will also join us in quarterfinals. And man, they really draw it out. Like this contest.
No kidding.
Going on September 2nd. And
so what's the rules for this thing? I mean, is it you're a hot, good looking gal and they're going to put you on the cover, or is there more to it?
I think that pretty much covers it.
That's awesome.
When I applied, I saw the contest. Okay, so I did a shoot for myself for my birthday present to myself, and I never had any intention of this contest. 3 days later, after I'd received my photos, I saw the contest, and I thought, why the hell not? What else am I going to do with these? So,
because obviously you're already in shape because you're doing all the martial arts, Krav Maga, and everything else. So makes sense.
Yeah, I wanted to cherish the moment. I can look back and say, remember when.
So when you're in your 60s, you're like, that's what I used to look like.
Exactly. Exactly.
Got it. That's so awesome.
It's funny. So I entered the contest, but you had to submit a couple photos. You had to upload a couple photos, and then they wanted you to write a small biography, very small.
And that's why a lot of the women were eliminated. Because they had to write.
Yes. That's exactly right. You got to see.
I know that's horrible, but
special. There's special secret talents, and I'll get back to that because it cracks me up. But the truth is that I had uploaded a couple of my photos, and I hadn't quite written my bio yet, and the screen disappeared. I never pressed submit or anything. It just disappeared on me, and it was a little late at night, and I thought, I'm tired. I'll do this tomorrow. I'll worry about it tomorrow. And I went to sleep. Well, I woke up in the morning and, went about my day. And then I was getting ready to go resubmit the photos and actually write the bio. And I got an email from them saying I was already accepted. But I didn't even submit. So took that as a sign. But then I went ahead and built my bio and everything. But they ask you, for your hidden talent, your secret talent. So some of these girls are cracking me up because one girl wrote her secret talent was cuddling with kittens.
So along those lines, when I worked for a sales training company, we made a mistake of putting a job out on Craigslist saying, hey, we're looking for an additional salesperson. I can tell you that the cuddles with kitten doesn't surprise me because we got resumes back with pictures attached to them.
Oh my goodness.
And I'll leave it at that and let people assume whatever they want with those pictures.
Oh no.
But let's say we never went to Craigslist ever again to try to hire anybody. So what goes through people's minds blows me away. But if you're trying to get on the cover of Maxim magazine, cuddling with kittens is not the skill set that's going to get you there. Oh, people crack me up. So now they're narrowing down the field. You've already beat out 17,500 other probably gorgeous women that are going after it. And now you're competing, and I can't do math, but that's like 2,500 left to go or something. To get this all figured out. And the finals so the next round happens. What's the actual date of it?
October 10th, Thursday the 10th will be top 1.
Okay.
And so I'm currently in position 1. I need to stay there to make that top 1 cut, and then I'll go on to quarterfinals.
Cool. And then how does everybody go vote? I'm assuming the general public has some vote in this.
It's all voter based. Actually, it is 100% voter based.
So it's somewhat of a popularity contest, which means you need as many people as possible to crash the polls to keep you in that top position.
Yes, and also the thing that I love most about this contest actually is that it supports wounded warriors. It
badass.
goes to support.
There you go, boys.
Homes for wounded warriors, and it falls right in line with my philosophy and who I am, because I actually volunteer every year for a program in Colorado called Challenge Aspen Military Opportunities. And I go out there every year for a week and go cross-country adaptive skiing with wounded vets. And it's always the best week of my year, every time. So I'm in love with the fact that it's a contest that's helping support a cause I really believe in. But yes, it is 100% voter based. So I need you to make me popular.
I'm only competing with guys like Joe Rogan and stuff. No big deal. So guys, do me a favor, champions. Let's get back behind her. I wouldn't have taken this interview had it been Allie not throwing her name in the hat. I'm so quick. You guys know I'm backlogged on guests and everything. So do me a favor. Let's throw some support behind her, because the exposure, like any of us would want for our businesses, that kind of exposure can skyrocket a lot of very, very, very cool things. So, and you never know where karma comes. When you put that kind of karma behind someone who's a genuinely good person, that's got a good story, is not trying to live life by her looks, is legitimately running a business, and behind some products and stuff, throw a little love her way. How do people find out where to vote at?
The easiest way is to follow me on Instagram, because the link is right in my bio there.
And my Instagram profile?
It's just my name. It's at Rachel Greenbaum. So it's RACHELGREENBAUM.
Cool.
The link is right there in the bio, and people can vote every single day. And I need those daily votes.
And guys, we'll put all that in the show notes for you as well, so we can make sure that we can get her as much exposure as possible. Rachel, this has been a hell of a ride. It's been a hell of a story. Here's how I like to wrap up every episode. And I do stump some people, so stand by for this.
All right.
If you were going to leave the champions who listen to the show with a quote, a phrase, a mantra, a saying, something they can take with them on their journey, especially when they're stacked up against it, what's that quote or phrase you would say? Remember this.
I am ready, because you
listened to my other episodes.
So I did my homework and I'm prepared. And
I love it. Hit me.
I'd like to leave you with a quote by Jim Rohn. We must all suffer from one of two pains: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while regret weighs tons.
I fucking love Jim Rohn. He is one of the greatest speakers, motivational guys. The guy who taught Tony Robbins. He is an absolute flipping genius. Rachel, thank you so much for doing this. Much love, girl. I really wish you the best of luck on this thing. And I expect an autograph bag coming my way soon.
Absolutely. And a magazine.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, you keep rocking and rolling, girl, and keep us updated with everything that's going on.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And the ground is no place for a champion.
Holy hell in a handbasket. What a flippin' awesome episode. You talk about a powerhouse, freaking spitfire, just a badass young lady that's kicking ass and taking names. I love that spunk. I love how we talked about specifically that she was, taking on her kind of own mental games and leveling up through Krav Maga and other martial arts. I'm just impressed with her and her story. Guys, go give her some love out there in that Maxim competition, and freaking go get the votes in for her, and let's see if we can't help her out get to the top. I think it's a really, really cool thing that not only is she a beautiful gal, she's got the brains to back it up, and that's a 1-2 punch if you ask me. And then, if you got any value out of this episode, share it with a friend and tell them to come, hey, you should really listen to this show. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I love meeting and talking to new people. And come hang out in our Facebook group, Success Champions. This is where all the badasses hang out. We are rising together, and all kinds of fun stuff's going on. So thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. I love the fact that you still listen and enjoy the show as much as I love putting it together. Thanks so much. Run like hell and continue being badasses. Later.